You know, it happened on Christmas Eve a couple of years ago. I still can't explain it, no matter how many times I think about it. It was late, maybe just after midnight. The snow was coming down hard, and everything outside looked like one of those holiday postcards. Quiet, peaceful, you know? I was sitting by the fire, just enjoying the stillness of the night after putting my daughter Lily to bed. Now, Lily was 7 at the time, and she still believed in all the magic of Christmas. She left cookies out for Santa and everything. I didn't have the heart to tell her it was just me doing the work. After the year we'd had, with her dad passing away, I wanted to keep that magic alive for her. Anyway, I was about to put the presents under the tree when I heard it. Knock, knock. It startled me. Who shows up at someone's door in the middle of a snowy Christmas night? At first I thought maybe it was a neighbor needing something. But when I looked through the peephole, I saw this man. He was dressed in red, like some kind of old-fashioned Santa, but not the jolly kind. His suit wasn't bright or cheerful. It was darker, faded, like it had seen too many winters. And his face. It was in shadow, hidden under this big hat. I hesitated, but finally I cracked the door open just a bit. "Can I help you?" I asked. The man didn't answer right away. He just held out this box, small and perfectly wrapped in shiny green paper with a gold ribbon. "For Lily," he said, his voice low, almost hollow. Now, my stomach dropped. How did he know my daughter's name? I asked him that. "How do you know Lily?" But he didn't answer. He just turned and walked away, his boots crunching in the snow until he vanished into the storm. I stood there for a minute, frozen, before I finally brought the box inside. It felt so light, like there was barely anything in it. I thought about throwing it away, but something stopped me. I put it under the tree and decided I'd let Lily open it in the morning. When morning came, Lily ran down the stairs, all excited. She spotted the box immediately. "Mama, look! Santa left me something extra." I didn't have the heart to tell her the truth, so I just nodded. "Go ahead, sweetheart. Open it." She tore into the paper, and inside was this snow globe. It was beautiful, honestly. Tiny house, trees, snow swirling inside. But here's the thing. The house in the globe. It looked just like ours. At first I thought it was just a coincidence, but then Lily shook the globe and the snow started to fall inside it. That's when I noticed something, or someone. There was a figure inside, standing by the tiny house. A man, dressed in red, waving. I felt this chill run down my spine. Lily didn't notice anything strange. She just thought it was pretty. But I couldn't take my eyes off that little figure. It felt like he was staring at me. Then, as I watched, he moved. Not like a mechanical toy, but like he was alive. His tiny hand stopped waving and pointed right at me. I grabbed Lily and stepped back, my heart racing. "It's just a toy," I told myself, trying to calm down. But then the lights in the room flickered, and a freezing draft swept through the house. And that's when I heard it again. Knock, knock. I turned toward the door, terrified. Through the frosted glass I could see him, the same man in red standing on my porch. But now I could see his face, and it wasn't human. His eyes were too dark, his smile too wide, and his skin looked wrong, like it wasn't made to stretch that way. I don't know how long I stood there, frozen. But when I turned back to the snow globe, the man inside was gone. And then Lily whispered, "Mama, he's here." That's where it ends. No answers, no explanations. Just me, left with that snow globe and the memory of that night. I've never seen him again, but every Christmas Eve I can't help but wonder, will he come back? You know, I've always loved Christmas Eve. There's something magical about the quiet anticipation, the twinkling lights, the smell of pine in the air. But last year it was different. I'd just moved into this old house, a charming, creaky place that looked like it belonged on a Christmas card. It was my first holiday there, and I wanted to make it special. So, I spent the evening decorating the tree, carefully placing ornaments one by one. Around 11 p.m., I realized I'd forgotten to get a tree topper. You know, the star? or angel for the top. It just didn't feel complete without it. I figured the small thrift shop down the road might still be open. They had odd hours, and besides, I liked the idea of finding something unique. The shop was tucked away at the edge of town, dimly lit and cluttered with everything from antique furniture to boxes of old holiday decorations. The bell above the door jingled as I stepped inside, and I was greeted by an elderly woman behind the counter. Her eyes were sharp, almost too sharp, as if she could see right through me. "Looking for something special?" she asked, her voice a strange mix of warmth and warning. "Yes," I replied. "A tree topper, maybe an ornament." She didn't say anything, just nodded and disappeared into the back room. When she returned, she was holding a small, delicate box. "This," she said, sliding it across the counter, "is exactly what you need." I opened the box and found the most exquisite ornament I'd ever seen. It was a hand-blown glass sphere, shimmering like it held its own light. Inside, there was a tiny, perfect replica of a snowy village. It was mesmerizing, like it had a life of its own. "How much?" I asked, expecting it to cost a fortune. She smiled, a thin, knowing smile. "It's not for sale, but tonight, it's yours." I didn't question it. I should have, but I didn't. I thanked her, took the ornament home, and placed it carefully on the tree. That's when things started to feel off. As I sat back to admire the tree, I noticed the tiny village inside the ornament. The lights in the little houses flickered, just like real lights. It was beautiful, but something about it made my chest tighten. I leaned in for a closer look. The detail was incredible. Tiny snow-covered streets, miniature pine trees, and figures. There were little people walking through the village, bundled up in coats and scarves. And then I saw her. Standing in the center of the tiny village was an old woman. She was holding a lantern, her face turned up toward me, as if she knew I was watching. It was the same woman from the shop. I shook my head, convincing myself it was just a coincidence. Maybe the ornament was her creation, her way of signing her work, but as I stared, I could have sworn she moved. Just a little. I told myself I was tired, that my eyes were playing tricks on me. So I went to bed, leaving the ornament on the tree. Around 3 a.m., I woke up to a sound, a faint jingling, like bells or chimes. It was coming from the living room. I grabbed my phone and tiptoed down the stairs, heart pounding. The tree lights were still on, casting a soft glow across the room. But something was wrong. The ornament wasn't on the tree anymore. It was lying on the floor, completely intact. But the village inside, it had changed. The streets were empty now, the little figures gone. Except for one. In the center of the village was a single figure standing alone. It wasn't the old woman anymore. It was me. I stumbled back, nearly dropping the ornament. My reflection in the glass stared back at me, tiny and frozen, just like a doll. And then it blinked. That's when I heard her voice, soft and distant, echoing through the room. "You should have asked what it cost." The lights flickered and the room went cold. When I looked up, the old woman was standing in the corner, her lantern glowing faintly. I don't remember screaming, but I must have. When I woke up, it was morning, and the ornament was gone. I don't know what happened that night. I don't know what I saw, but every time I walk past a thrift shop now, I can't bring myself to go inside, because what if she's still there, waiting? It was Christmas Eve, and the snow was falling in heavy blankets, covering the town in silence. I was alone in my small, old house, nursing a mug of cocoa and listening to the faint crackle of my fireplace. It had been a quiet day. No family to visit, no friends to celebrate with, just me. That's how I liked it usually, but that night felt different. Around 10 p.m., a knock echoed through my empty home. It startled me because I wasn't expecting anyone, especially not in this weather. I hesitated, but finally went to the door. Standing there, bathed in the dim glow of my porch light, was an elderly woman. She was bundled in a red coat, her white hair peeking out from under a knitted hat. "Good evening," she said, her voice soft but steady. "My car broke down nearby and my phone's dead. May I use yours?" I hesitated. There was something odd about her. Her clothes looked too clean for someone stranded in a snowstorm, and she didn't seem cold at all, but it was Christmas, and turning her away felt wrong. I nodded and let her in. She stepped inside, her boots leaving no trace of snow or water on the floor. I offered her a seat by the fire while I fetched the phone. She didn't sit. Instead, she walked around the living room, inspecting my Christmas decorations like she'd been there before. "Lovely tree," she said, her gaze lingering on an old ornament, one I'd made as a child. "How did you know my car broke down near here?" I asked suddenly. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Lucky guess. Something about her tone made my stomach twist. When I handed her the phone, she simply stared at it, her fingers brushing the edges but not dialing. "You live alone, don't you?" she asked, her eyes locking with mine. The air grew heavy, and a shiver ran down my spine. "How do you know that?" She didn't answer. Instead, she stepped closer, her smile fading. "I've been waiting a long time to meet you, dear. You don't remember, but we've met before." I backed away, heart racing. "What are you talking about?" Before I could move further, she leaned in and whispered, "I was there the night your parents died. I saw it all." I froze. My parents had died in a car crash decades ago, on Christmas Eve. No one else had been there, or so I thought. When I looked back at her, she was gone. No footprints in the snow outside, just the faint scent of pine lingering in the air.